Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by GammaStack, your strategic tech partner in the iGaming universe. I am Diksha Singhal, your moderator for today, and I'm thrilled you are joining for us a topic that's buzzing around the industry: how to build an iGaming platform, systems, investments, and mindset. But before we jump in, a quick introduction to our expert speaker of the day, Arturs Zagurilo, who's been instrumental in shaping the commercial backbone of some of the most successful iGaming ventures across Europe and North America. With over a decade of hands-on experience at Soft Gamings, GIG, and now as the Chief Commercial Officer at GammaStack, Arturs bring deep expertise to go-to-market strategy, platform monetization, and scalability. So first of all, Arturs, welcome to the webinar. And how do you feel
Uh,
today?
yeah, I feel amazing. Thank you, Diksha, so much. And thank you so much for such a nice intro. I'm very honored to be here and try shedding a light a bit on this very sophisticated topic in terms of
Amazing.
how you launch the platform.
Amazing. And I think that we already see a lot of attendees in the attending today. They are excited in the chat box. We can already see some questions popping up. But before that, let's have some understanding with you. You have worked with casino, sportsbook, and hybrid platforms. So what do you have as your personal favorite?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess from the personal point of view, I definitely like a casino much more myself. And the main reason for that would be that I gamble myself from time to time as like a hobby. And secondly, when I joined the industry, actually, I started from the casino vertical. So I was
Mm-hmm.
always into casino part of the business rather than sportsbook, poker, or something else.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look from the practical business point of view, I think also a casino is a bit more interesting because you can monetize this vertical of iGaming more quickly, again, compared to the same domains like sports betting, definitely.
Amazing. So, you have been around a lot of, first-time founders as well with your experience. It would be really great to know that what's the biggest red flag you notice in first-time founders when they approach you?
So much. What's the price? How much? If the client is asking in the first questions of the healthy discussion you're trying to have, how much, what is the price for your solution, without even seeing the demo, without knowing the details, that's the biggest red flag for me. And secondly, I guess also unrealistic time expectations. If
Mhm.
someone is coming to you and saying, listen, we want to launch a casino brand within 3 weeks' time, I mean, you understand from the very beginning that this person lives in La La Land. I mean, it's unreal.
Absolutely. The point that you've already mentioned that people demanding about launching a platform in 3 to 4 weeks or even less than that is actually something which cannot actually happen to have a great platform. But when we talk about different platforms and launching them now in 2025, so what is the difference between launching a platform now in 2025 and back 3 to 5 years ago?
That's a good question. Definitely, iGaming is a very fast-paced industry. Okay, so the things are changing constantly as we speak. I
Mhm.
guess right now, for example, the buzzwords that we hear all the time, like gamification, AI, whatever, this is not innovation anymore. This is the baseline where they need to start, right? So this is one thing. Secondly, I think 5 years ago, when you were starting your iGaming business, you could think of, going and trying to penetrate many markets at the same time. I
Mhm.
mean, legislation was very different. But now, as the iGaming industry as whole is improving and getting more mature, we
Mhm.
also seeing this reflected in the regulated markets. We see them popping up much more, like in Europe, like Brazil, like several states in US. So that being said, right now, if you're willing to launch an iGaming business, you need to also understand if you're going completely white, if you're going completely in a legal jurisdiction, or maybe you wanna look into .com brands at first.
Right. I think these are some of the important factors that are to be considered definitely. And that actually brings us to getting into the real choices of founders face when launching. That's white label, turnkey, or building your own. I think everybody right now, when starting a platform, is in a mess to kind of choose amongst them. So could you briefly explain the three parts of white label, turnkey, and custom build, and how do they differ?
Right. I think this is the basic. This is the basics. This is essential for every operator to know while making a decision. As you mentioned, Diksha, there are three different paths, three different directions: white label, turnkey, and having your own PAM, a source code solution. So all of them, they have different advantages and different flaws. Okay. So for example, white label is easiest way to start your business. Requires less capital for sure, but at the same time, you're sacrificing with your independence, autonomy, and flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there is a more advanced solution, a turnkey solution, where you have already your own legal structure, you have your own license. Definitely, you can customize your platform, your UI, UX in a higher degree, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there is an ultimate beast. There is a solution or option to actually have something on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your own tech. You can either buy a source code and
Yeah.
then improve it, or maybe you can develop the PAM by yourself, right? Using your own IT team.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that requires a lot of funds. That requires a lot of expertise and a good team, right? Because the investments are much higher. But at the same time, what actually it gives you opportunity to decide how you work, where you operate, what is your marketing campaign, how you're
Mm-hmm.
going to execute that, what are the features in your PAM,
Mm-hmm.
right? You completely control the destiny, right? So I think for tier one, tier two operators, this is definitely the most lucrative option right there on the market right now.
Absolutely. So all the three, parts that you've discussed right now depends on the kind of cost that the founder would want to decide with, or what kind of expertise the founder has right now. But for a new time founder who's just starting out, how do you recommend they decide amongst these options?
Yeah, so based on what I said earlier, right? If you're an early startup, if you want definitely if you're having a lower risk appetite ratio, right? If you don't have such a big access to funds, maybe if you are lacking of iGaming experience, white label definitely is the best choice because requires you less time. You
Mm-hmm.
can quickly have a access to the market, right? So you can test actually your ideas. You can see if you can prosper in this business. You can see if your marketing team is doing well. You sign up correct affiliates and so on and so forth. So definitely, white label would be a first choice. And secondly, a turnkey solution as well. Why? Because white label actually, as we speak, also is getting less popular as a solution and offering from the B2B companies because
Mm-hmm.
it's possessing a lot of risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see the tendency that white labels are fading slowly. And then turnkey is a bit more expensive, but as I said before, at least then in this case, you have control over your legal aspect, over your assets as well. All the cash flow stays with you, and you can be much more customized as a brand. And this is vital, Diksha. Every single day, I think there is hundreds of brands being launched, and you need to think about the brand positioning. How you gonna differentiate yourself? If you will be just another brand having the same payment solutions, same game providers, what are
Mm-hmm.
you expecting? I mean, what type of ROI are you expecting actually from this business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You just mentioned a thing that, white label solutions is the first choice, mostly for the first time founders. But what is the biggest misconception that people have about white label platforms?
Yeah, I think people really don't realize how much they need to sacrifice. So again, I mentioned about cash flow, right? Within the white label, since you're having basically a sub license and you're sharing one common license with many different operators, there's extra risks for you for the business. Let's say one specific operator from a white label group conducted some certain activities, actions right now that are risky.
Mm-hmm.
This is influencing actually all the other operators across this umbrella. This is a big problem, right? It's a big risk issue. Secondly, cash flow. Many B2B platform providers are saying, okay, guys, you want to have a white label? It's fine. But since we're going to manage your cash flow, we're going to use our payment accounts, our merchants, right? We're asking you to provide liquidity deposit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30, 50,000 euro on the
Right.
start. This amount is usually related to specific KPIs later on, to specific metrics. The more GGR you have every month, higher liquidity deposit you need to have.
Right.
And Diksha, I know by experience, actually, some of the B2B companies are putting very high marks.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that the operator, white label operator, needs to put aside and transfer back to the platform provider a lot of cash every single month.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they could use this money actually again for their brand positioning, for marketing, signing up affiliates, maybe improving the product, right? So I think this is very important to understand.
Absolutely. So we just talked about white label, and you talked about, how a founder can actually make a choice on the basis of all these things. But for someone who's considering building their own platform, do you know
Right.
that, or how do they know that when they are ready for it?
Yeah, so I think if you're tier two operator, tier one, of course, obviously there's no discussion about that. But if you're tier two, in my opinion, what I would define as tier two would be maybe an operator that started as a white label,
Mm-hmm.
right? And managed to survive in a huge pool of different clients being on some third party provider
Mm-hmm.
because this is a tough battle, right? So if you manage to grow, if you see that you have a constant, it's not even GGR because GGR can fluctuate, right?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
see constant amount of deposit you're having, you see constant growth, you see that you're able to expand your brand, um, and you see that you're actually able to bring some new concepts or ideas to the market, then having your own solution or buying a source code and then improving or building your own PAM is a wise way to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I said, the industry is very fast, right? It's very fast, and there are a lot of new innovations coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to test them out, you need to have access to the
Right.
platform, right? When you talk with big B2B platform providers and you're just one of hundreds of thousands of brands they have, and you want to improve something on the backend side, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe in terms of UI UX, sure, they will accept your request, but they're going to put you into integration queue,
Right.
right? Because the priorities are shifting towards the brands that are bringing the most of the cash, which is completely normal business decision from the perspective of the platform provider. But this is a big problem for the operator.
Right, right. And so this actually comes across to a lot of myths also that's there in the iGaming industry, because there's a lot of confusion around what it actually takes to build your own platform. So first things first, let's hit the elephant in the room. I have already heard a lot that and building your own iGaming platform cost you more than 2 million euros. So does actually building your own platform cost you more than $2 million or euros?
Yes, yes, it could be so. It could be 2 million, it could be 3 million, it could be 4. Sky is the limit, Diksha. But at the same time, it could be a less of investment, right? Because again, depends how you approach it. If you're willing to build the PAM by your own, it requires you a lot of knowledge. It requires you a good team, strong CTO or product owner. And I've seen from experience of other operators that were trying to do this, it takes them 1, 2 years time, And you can definitely do easy math, right? Especially if your developers are somewhere in Europe, the
Mm-hmm.
hourly rates are extremely high, right? It's 100, 150, sometimes it's 200 euro per hour. So it comes to a very, very high cost.
Yeah.
But there's another option. There's an option of buying a source code solution, like, for example, what we do at GammaStack, right?
Yeah.
So you can come, you could request a project. We can deliver the project to you. It will be the same as buying a turnkey, but with a small twist. In the end of this project cycle, we would pass you the ownership rights. And then you have two ways. Either if you have a team, you can manage the platform by your own completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And improve it, maintain it, whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or you could use GammaStack's team for outsourcing, right? We can assemble dedicated team just for your needs, backend developer, front-end developer, QA, team lead, and they can help you to manage and support the platform. In this case, the cost definitely would be much lower.
Understood. Understood. So you just mentioned that Gamma Stack would actually help in the tech part and other things as well. So we often hear that it takes around 2 to 3 years. But what's the real time it takes to build a platform, and especially with partners like Gamma Stack?
Yeah, 2, 3 years building something on your own definitely is realistic. I heard even bigger numbers. With us, again, with GammaStack, since we're very experienced in terms of building custom solutions, so we're doing it for the last almost 10 years, right? Uh, and again, we need to separate also. If we talk about .com business, right? If we talk about .com business, I would say maybe from 4 to 6 months is realistic, assuming everything. It's not only about the tech, because there are also dependencies from the third parties, like licenses, integrations with payment providers, integrations with game content providers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, also the customers that come to us are more demanding in a good way. So they would like to have much more improved UI UX, more features on the platform on the back-end side that the usual B2B companies are offering. So 4 to 6 months, this is realistic time frame to build a rock solid platform.
Mm-hmm.
If we look into regulated jurisdictions, because we also have experience of actually selling the code in local
Yeah.
European countries to local European countries, it takes around 9 to 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
Why so? Because regulator obviously has much more requests and demands towards the platform, certifications, integrations with the local database system. You need to exchange the data for taxation reasons. So definitely there's a bit more work for this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's great. And do the operators actually need CTOs or in-house tech team to pull this off?
Yes, if you are building the platform completely by your own, of course, in this case, yes. And no, if you are buying a source code from the company such as GammaStack, because in that case, we have everything already in place, infrastructure, team, the knowledge. Basically, you just come, you tell what is your scope of work, what do you like to achieve in the end of the way, and we do it.
Absolutely. So I think most of the operators or the attendees who have joined us today would be more interested now to kind of get on to the money part. So now let's talk about money and the upside of the owning own tech. When we talk about margins, how does ownership impact profitability in long term?
A lot. A lot. It's actually very big numbers. And that's why tier two, tier one operators are also deciding for owning their own tech. Okay. Let's do a simple math here. So imagine I'll give you just for the context, I'll give you different scenarios. Again, let's see if it's a turnkey solution, you're paying royalties, right? Or a white label. You're paying 5, 6, 7% from GGR as a platform fee,
Yeah.
right? Then you also are using probably game aggregator from this platform provider,
Mm-hmm.
and they put on markup. It's extra 1, 2%.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're probably using also payment aggregator. Again, it's extra couple of percent, right?
Right.
So then if we sum up, it comes to 10, 15%
Mm-hmm.
difference
Yeah.
from GGR, what you make. It's a tremendous result. And especially if we look into also regulated markets, taxes there in specific countries are crazy. So they're actually improving a margin even by bit, by several percents,
Mm-hmm.
based on the market share of those brands, makes huge difference. This is vital for supporting the business. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can use this money, obviously, again, for marketing, for expansion, for M&A, and many other activities.
All right, all right. And when we say that, how do actually own platforms outperform in terms of user retention or LTV? So how does that actually work? Could you shed some light on that?
Um, Being very straightforward with you, Diksha, actually, there is not much of the difference. There is
Mm-hmm.
not much of the difference. I'll explain you why. Because if you are already working, let's say, as a white label or a turnkey operator or a top-notch tier one B2B supplier, those guys know their stuff. They know
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They've been in the space for the last 10, 15 years, right? They have huge amounts of big brands. They see huge amounts of data. They
Mm-hmm.
can analyze the data. They understand what are the trends, what is popping up, what type of new features we need to implement. They constantly receive the feedbacks from the operators that are actually in the battlefield every single day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and accordingly, they develop their roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
So the only difference here would be not the features actually, but
Mm-hmm.
the speed of implementing new things in the
Right.
platform.
Right.
Again, as I mentioned maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, right? If you're launching a brand as a white label, you're one among many, many different brands. And
Yeah.
if you want to test something new, you need to wait a long time.
Correct.
Having something on your own gives you immediate access,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can test the idea very quickly, see, okay, let's make a small twist here. Let's see how it goes. So
Mm-hmm.
that indirectly can actually increase your retention, it can increase LTV. But from the perspective of the features, they are pretty much similar.
Understood. And when we talk about like what kind of bonus or segmentation tools can only a custom platform offer? Is there something like of that a concept?
Yes, and I would actually reply same way. There is no difference as well in this case. So there is no limit for a notable platform provider to build anything. They have huge amounts of cash, right? They have huge amounts of very experienced and knowledge IT team. They can
Yeah.
develop pretty much everything, right? It's not an
Yeah.
issue, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
an issue. Again, it's just about the speed. It's
Mm-hmm.
just about the speed that destiny is in your hands. Tomorrow, wake up. I want to improve something on UI UX. Let's do it. And I can. I have the right to do so. That's the amazing part.
Right, absolutely. And when we say that, how does a platform ownership impact a brand's actually long-term valuation or its exit potential? Because this is also something that people would definitely want to know about.
Yeah, that's interesting one. Again, let's not discuss right now regulated markets. There is a different mathematics. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
companies go for IPO and whatnot. If we talk about .com brands, if you're selling your casino project, your sports betting website, probably you would get from 4 to 6x multiply from your EBITDA. Okay, but if you're selling a white label or you're selling a turnkey, what actually you're selling? You're selling database
Mm.
and your domain name. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Then you have a lot of struggles with contracts, with other third-party providers, platforms, affiliates, whatnot. Right, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of hassle. Investors, in my experience, prefer actually a proprietary type of course, and that adds at least 1 to 2x to overall estimation, because besides of the database, again, you also get the tech, right? And
Mhm.
if you own the tech, it actually
Mhm.
means it's not only B2C business. You can
Mhm.
actually start your B2B business as well at some point and start to issue white label sub licenses and onboard new customers. So it's also a new already business vertical and direction.
Absolutely. So you have actually mentioned what would be the kind of difference for the white label or the other custom build platform while selling. But if you had to kind of name any one big thing that would be the biggest difference when somebody is comparing the lifetime value of a white label or the own brand. So what would be the biggest difference they'll see?
The biggest difference in terms of value of the brand,
Yes.
or
Yes. The lifetime value
yeah,
of the brand.
yeah, definitely your assets on what you have on the balance sheets. That would be the most important difference, right? Because again, in this case, you have database and domain, and here you have domain database, but you also have your tech. Makes a
Mhm.
huge
Right.
impact on the estimations.
Absolutely understood. So when we talk about now some types of risks, timelines, and investment breakdowns, we already know that ownership isn't for everyone. So now let's unpack the risk side of all these operations and things like that. So what are the top risk founders overlook when planning a platform build?
Okay, so you need to be prepared for a long hassle. Okay, definitely, if you have some number in your mind that okay, we can make it in 10 months,
Mm-hmm.
multiply it easily by at least 50%. I mean, it's crazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like that with IT business, with gambling. Definitely, there's a lot of things you cannot predict initially.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the problem is that there's also a lot of dependencies on the third-party providers, right? What I
Yeah.
mentioned, licenses, game supplies, a lot of integrations you need to
Mm-hmm.
conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So timelines, definitely, this is very important to understand that it can be much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, saying the cost, it completely correlates, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you spend more time, you also need to spend more money, right?
Right.
And thirdly, the importance of early hiring. You need
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the people you hire in the very beginning of the stage are completely committed
Mm-hmm.
and motivated to work and do their best. Because if you hire someone that is not professional enough, if you
Mm-hmm.
hire someone that works, like it's just a job and makes a lot of mistakes along the way, you will
Mm-hmm.
pay the price later on. So my advice to early founders that want to develop something on their own is don't be
Yes,
greedy, spend and spend on right people. Because definitely those people will help you to save up tons of money later on.
absolutely. And now, before continuing the questions, we have some of the questions from the attendees as well. The first question is from Agni. The question is, how big is the crash games market, and what are the countries or regions to look as a B2B crash game supplier for easy adoption amongst aggregators and operators?
Okay, let's separate the question in two parts. So you can repeat to me, Diksha, the second part of the question later on. Crash games are huge. They are huge. I mean, look what Sprite did, right? And actually, they were not the even inventing the crash games, the concept of the crash games, but they completely changed the industry. I
Yeah.
was watching the other day the podcast of Alexander Tomic and David Trashvili from Sprite, and I think everyone was doing the math. They
Mm-hmm.
generate crazy amounts of money. The
Mm-hmm.
crash games are very, very popular. I think crash games are resonating very, very well with the crypto audience.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you look into example of stake, why stake become very popular? Okay, so first off, they were thinking of going to different directions, maybe a white label, maybe turnkey. In the end, they have their own proprietary tech. That was a
Yeah.
very good decision for them because they can scale quicker. And secondly, they went with this big streamers, with Twitch streamers, which was something new. And third, they had their stake original games.
Mm-hmm.
And they have very quick turnaround, so people can gamble and come and play very quickly, get some results. You win, you lose, and you go on, right?
Mhm.
So it's like a real money machine. So that's for sure. Crash games is a hot trend. Now,
Okay,
the second part of the question, Diksha, can you please
sure.
repeat to me once again?
The second part of the question is that what countries or regions to look as a B2B crash game supplier for easy adoption amongst aggregators and operators?
So, what countries are good in terms of utilizing crash games? They're popular everywhere, actually. I think mainly I would say Europe. Still, it's a big thing, but it's also popping up in Latin America a
Mm-hmm.
lot because we see the results. We see the results from Sprite, from other companies that are doing similar businesses. So yeah. I think
Yeah.
Europe again, in many ways, Europe would be definitely answer number one because Europe is the most saturated market.
Mhm.
Anything that happens within the gambling actually usually starts with Europe.
Okay. I hope that we have answered the question well, Agni. If you have any questions, follow-up questions, you can please shoot them in the quick Q&A section. Going forward towards other questions. So there are a lot of questions, but here's one that says, what's the quickest way to ruin your iGaming reputation?
The ruining,
Yeah.
that's a good question. Lying, lying to people, misguiding and misleading them, and treating your people in a bad way. I think
Mhm.
people is the one of the most important assets you have, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't keep your word, if you don't keep your promises, and you think that you can gain short-term wins,
Mhm.
that's a very, very bad strategy. I've seen dozens of examples of people misbehaving,
Mhm.
and in the end of the day, nobody wants to work with them because actually, if you think industry is big, it's not.
Mhm.
People know people. It's easy. You can always, if you're thinking of starting a new venture with someone, you can
Mhm.
ask for a reference. With a
Mhm.
certainty of 90, probability of 90%, you will have common people, common friends from the space. And you
Mhm.
can ask what type of feedback they have about this lad. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. The same person asked another question that says, one thing everyone forgets about iGaming launches. What's that?
What people forget. Actually, yeah, that's a good one as well. I think that even though today's session is about the tech and how to
Mm-hmm.
build and the systems, whatnot, but what people actually forget is that the tech is not a bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
Poor execution is the problem.
Yeah.
So the most important part is post live.
Yeah.
When you go actually live with your brand, what type of affiliates that you onboard, what type of
Mm-hmm.
payment solutions you have, which conversion, do you have a cascade payments or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you can manage communication with your customers. Do you have specific retention managers? This is the crucial part. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can give you a silly example, Diksha. Imagine a Ferrari, right? A beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
nice red sports car in your garage. So you have it, right? Okay, you're happy. But if you don't have any kind of gasoline
Mm.
in the tank,
Mm.
you will not drive it. Then
Right.
Ferrari is useless. That's the same here. The same concept applies.
I think that was a great example to quote. And now moving back to the questions that I had for you, we'll get back to the questions of the attendees at the end of the session now. Can you walk us through a realistic 6 to 12 month roadmap from idea to MVP?
Yeah, sure. So first, if I would be launching a brand and giving advice to myself, right? First, understand what is your niche.
Mm.
Extremely important
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many different. I mean, you can go with a casino and sports betting. We can go to Asia. We can go to Latam at the same time. Come on. You need to calm down and to understand, okay, where we're going to have our area of expertise, right? For example, casino vertical and sports betting as addition for a cheap
Mm-hmm.
traffic, for example. Or maybe we do a bet on sports betting, especially if you have team members or yourself
Mm-hmm.
focus related to this.
Mm-hmm.
So develop your focus depending on the strengths you have. This is very important. And same actually advice goes for marketing. In so many cases, I see that people are like, okay, so I heard Brazil is popular, Nordics are good as a market, and then let's try to find affiliates or someone else we can partner up to fit in into this idea. No, you need to go vice versa. Don't limit yourself, just thinking about where I can build the connections, right? So, and then depending on that, decide what markets you need to go for and start only with several markets in same region. You cannot target Europe and Asia with the same brand. Completely different players, completely different mentalities, game preferences, and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
first, your niche, your focus, right? And the idea, of course, assembling the team. I mentioned the importance of very correct, strong early hirings,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're going to pay double price in the end. Okay.
Absolutely.
So once you have this, then you need to decide definitely what path you're going to take: white label, turnkey, building on your own, or buying a source code and then maintaining it. Right.
Right.
Once you start actually development process, of course, there's a scope of work, there's the roadmap of how you're going to achieve specific goals, different type of milestones and VPs. Then the testing, production stage, of course, like in every specific IT business, and then go live. But of course, going live, it should be probably like a soft launch, right? Soft
Mhm.
launch, just test yourself, see how does it go. Trust me, everything will fail, everything will be bad initially. It's normal. It's completely normal in with every single platform. You're gonna have bugs, you're gonna have errors. It's a completely adequate story. You need to be prepared for that to understand, okay, how we can quickly solve it, improve, and be prepared for the bigger loads of customers when actually you completely go live with a full blast, big marketing and stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we talk about this complete cycle of launching launching a platform, but there are a lot of times when there can be delays in terms of licensing and things like that, which I've already
Hmm.
mentioned. So how do actually the compliance and licensing delays impact the launch cycle?
Yeah, sometimes a lot. Sometimes customers can complain that actually there is a delay in terms of going live, but then if we look in more detailed way, we understand that those are dependencies on license providers, right? There was
Mhm.
SAO back in the days. Now it's more on Juan, or Nevis, Tapik, Kanawaki license. Still, even it's .com, it's not so sophisticated as regulated jurisdictions, requiring a certain amount of information
Mhm.
about yourself, about your company, specific due diligence procedures. So
Mhm.
if you don't collect the documents on time, if you cannot provide specific answers to specific questions, there are delays. And then, of course, also human factor, right? So again, if there is a big queue, right, there's a lot of demand. If the
Mhm.
demand is higher than the supply initially at a given moment, also you need to wait more. Sometimes it affects actually the whole project launch by even 1 or 2, even sometimes 3 months. It's
Right,
normal.
understood. Absolutely. I think this would be really helpful for all the first-time operators or anybody who's trying to scale their business. But everybody would be definitely interested to understand the kind of investments that are need to be done. So could you stimulate the cost range across three models that we've discussed, a white label, turnkey, and custom build?
Right, the juicy part, the numbers. Everyone likes numbers, right?
Yes.
Sure. Um, okay, so numbers. If we talk about white label, the most affordable solution for sure, without a doubt. Usually, what we see in the market, I would say kind of an average price. I think that would be 25,000 your setup fee,
Mhm.
right? But again, what people forget is bankroll, your liquidity deposit you need to provide as well. Usually at minimum, it's 25,000 as well,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And now we're talking only about the setup. Of course, marketing budget is
Yeah.
completely separate out of
Right.
this equation, right? Now, a turnkey solution. Turkey solution is usually a bit more pricey than the white label because it also has more customization. So I would think you go with something like 40-ish, 40K for 1,000 euro as a setup fee.
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes 50. But then again, also you need to remember you're going to have a license yourself. So you need to
Yeah.
apply for the license. You need to have a corporate structure, right? Everything established, everything in place. So that would add extra 30, 40,000. So let's say 80K to 100K,
Right.
right? Now, if we talk about developing the PAM, I think we kind of answered this question before that it can
Yeah.
go up to 2 or 3, 4 million. Again, if you build the solution yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
you're buying a source code, it could be much more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking not about millions, but several hundreds of thousands, plus, of course, the scope of work. If you want to have something much more custom, then
Yeah.
the initial offering could go up to 1 million, right? But the matter of fact, I know also companies that are selling their source code solution for
Mm-hmm.
10 plus, 15 plus million euro per
Okay.
software.
All right, all right. I think that was a great scope to understand and have a budget for the different solutions that anyone would be looking forward to. After discussing about the numbers and the money part, it's important that we have the right set of people or the team. So, what kind of a
Yeah.
team or a partner support is non-negotiable during this journey?
For sure, you need to have strong marketing team.
Mhm.
That's a fuel of your brand, right? Maybe dedicated affiliate manager as well. Someone who could build up the connections with the streamers. Because sometimes actually the brand itself and brand positioning is more important than the product,
Mhm.
especially these days in the social media bust and whatnot.
Mhm.
If you're willing to build your own tech by yourself, of course, the developers team, so a proper CTO, project manager, product owner, you name it, backend developers,
Yeah,
front
yeah.
end QA team lead. This is extremely important. Retention manager, customer support. If the platform provider is not supporting this as a feature, this is extremely important.
Yeah.
CFO, finances, you need someone who needs to calculate and count your money because money actually is the data, the most essential metric that you can see. How well are you doing and what you should next.
Yeah.
And then director, the visionist, okay, the strategist, maybe yourself, or maybe if you understand that there are better people than you in terms of operations, then definitely hire them.
Understood. So now keeping the tech aside a bit and the people that we have already discussed, I think it's more important to start with a great mindset. There's a mindset that separates successful platform operators from the rest. So what do you think? What mindset traits do most successful operators share?
A good question. I like it. What I see across the industry from successful people and operators, I think they have one common characteristic. They are not afraid to fail.
Mm,
This is very important. So you have idea, you have enough of courage to test it out. So maybe think slowly, but take decisions quickly.
mhm,
And if you test the idea and you fail, you have only experience and lesson.
mhm,
So you learn from your mistakes and you repeat this cycle all over again.
mhm.
And trust me, Diksha, at some point you will succeed.
Right.
But some people are too cautious.
Mm,
Some people are trying to have 100% of information to make the best decision, and actually it's impossible. A lot of different business coaches are actually saying, and I completely agree with that. And I use this philosophy and approach myself. 70% of information is more than enough to make a decision and pull the trigger.
right.
So learn fast, make decisions fast, fail fast, repeat the cycle, and you'll succeed sooner or later.
I think that's going to be my mantra or my tip for the day that fail fast, learn fast, and repeat the cycle. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So, when actually, when should a founder own and when should they partner instead? What do you think?
Yeah, to sum up all the conversation we have, uh, partner up when you're just starting.
Mhm.
Partner up when you don't have such a big access to the budget and you just want to test the grounds is good.
Mhm.
And own when you already have a track record, you already had brands or have brands right now that are live, you generate specific amounts of money, right? Maybe a million, 2 million GGR, right? And you have a good team and good knowledge. Or else, if you don't have any iGaming experience, you have big budget, big investors behind you that give you the chance to assemble a team of professionals
Mhm.
where you're not the smartest in the room and they can tell you how this game is being played.
I think that was great to understand. And now we have the time for the Q&As. I see a lot of questions open there. So
Sure.
first
Let's go.
question. Yes, the first question that we have is, what's a common mistake you see in new operators that holds them back from scaling?
Yeah, new operators, they are choosing the white label solution much too often. I think they need to consider at least increasing the budget a bit and going for the turnkey. Because sooner or later, a white label operator, if they manage to survive, will understand they need completely different setup. They
Mhm.
need to have access, quicker access to features. They need
Mhm.
to have more customization.
Mhm.
They need to have less limits in terms of how they conduct their iGaming business, right? They
Yeah.
don't want to be related to the bankroll all the time. They want to have more autonomy. Sooner or later, if white label operator makes some money, eventually they will need to shift to a new license, to a turnkey solution, or owning your own. And
Mhm.
that means a migration, a transition. And
Mhm.
migration diction
Mhm.
always comes on a cost. So
Yeah.
by, again, my experience, what I've seen across the industry, if you migrate your brand, you lose up to 30, 40%, sometimes more of your active customer database. This is a lot.
Right, absolutely. The same person asked one more question that says that what are the most effective strategies to attract and retain players in today's competitive iGaming market?
Yeah. I think with the AI, I don't want to use word AI. It's a buzzword, but listen, I think it's impossible to avoid it. So the AI thing, gamification tools,
Mm.
they're helping to create much more personalized experience for the users, right? So this is extremely important and vital. If you can have very dedicated approach to your customers, especially to your VIP players. VIP players are bringing 20% of profits,
Yeah.
right? Sorry, not 20, 80% of profits,
Okay.
being only 10 or 20% of all customers you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important that you make them actually engaged with the website. The other
Mm-hmm.
day I was giving the interview about this, and I heard it before also. I'm really admiring what Martin Collins is saying all the time from SoftBet about screen time. Completely agree with him. It's a screen time. It's a battle with the big industries. So making sure players actually not bored. They want to be loyal to the brand. They want to come back and spend time within your business is crucial. So gamification, AI, personal marketing campaigns, anything related to these niches is a key.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a next question from Freddie. It says, if an operator is failing to grow or scale quickly as they were hoping, what advice would you give them so that they don't keep losing lots of money?
Numbers talk. It's all about the data. It's all about the data. So basically, you just need to analyze what you have, what type of numbers you see, right?
Mhm.
And just do the math. Sometimes, if you can understand where is the gap between your business vision and market realities, and you see that you can fulfill and close this gap,
Mhm.
and you have capacity and money for that, go for it. But
Mhm.
if you don't know where to go, if you don't know what exactly you should do and how you could change the situation in your favor,
Mhm.
and maybe if you have a scarcity of budget, sometimes the best decision is just to quit. In fact, uh, again, statistics from 10 brands that are launching, at least I think seven, eight would shut down eventually, right? And only a couple of them will show really good results.
Right.
And it's about execution, it's about the marketing.
Right, right. We have a question from Suzanne that says, are you working with third parties for real-time streaming for live dealer or sports betting already? If yes, who? Um, okay.
If we are working, pardon, can you repeat the question?
Are you working with the third parties for real-time streaming for live dealer or sports betting
Mm.
already?
Okay, yeah, like because yes, of course we do. So we have different direct integrations with the companies, with iframe, sportsbook iframes. We have integrations with all these providers as well, and we have direct integrations with several live casino providers, and of course we have integrations with couple of the biggest aggregators that under one single MPI have 100, 150 different suppliers.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let me quickly check if we are left with some questions more. Do, 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 do. We have a question that says if we are built the crash game as a B2B supplier, 100% on chain, integrate a peer-to-peer P2P payment system on our own and adopt DAO governments, do we still need to be licensed and take traditional route of going 100% white?
That's a very interesting question, and I'm really not afraid to tell that I don't have the answer for that. So I think you need to talk with a legal expert, right?
Mhm.
Because again, we all know that if you're a traditional casino provider, you need to be licensed and certified in specific markets. Now, crash games are fairly proven games, so kind of maybe not really. But then again, depends. Maybe for brand positioning, maybe there are specific technicalities that are different and it needs to be certified. At least you need to be certified by TestLab, which is good. But regarding the rest, yeah, better consult with the law firm in
Legal
this
ex
case.
Yeah, legal expert. I think the person needs to go to a legal expert. We have a next question that says, what kind of licenses do I need, and what is the estimated cost of an iGaming license? Do we have any estimates right now?
Yeah, I can tell you a ballpark figure. Um 35, 30, 40, 45,000. But again, I'm saying the ballpark figures are coming
Yeah.
from not only the license cost. You need to understand, you need to have a separate corporate structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Costa Rica company, maybe Cyprus company, bank accounts, EMIs, all of that would go to this number, right? Now, regarding the license to choose, so for .com, Curacao was definitely a thing to go. But they had a lot of different changes in the policies right now. It's not
Mm-hmm.
so trendy anymore, and I think people from the industry know that. Now, operators look more into Anjuan.
Mm-hmm.
There's Kanawaki license, the big license. Now there's a new license popping up, Nevis. I actually don't know that much about this, but I'm hearing about this license constantly. So
Yeah.
maybe this is also a very prominent option.
Great. I think we have covered a couple of licenses, and definitely you can get along with an expert to know more about the licenses. We have a question that says something about KPIs. So, are there any specific KPIs that I should track in the first year of my launch?
Mm. Of course, GGR is standard, but I'm a fan of deposits more. But because again, probability thing is GGR can fluctuate, but deposits
Mhm.
if they're stable, that you're on a good track.
Mhm.
I think this is the main KPI. Average return per user, or PU, of course, this is very important. ROI overall,
Mhm.
in every business, it's not only about the iGaming. In every business that you launch, so you
Yeah.
need to understand how much you spend, what type of contracts you have with affiliates. So is it CPA deals, on the revenue share deals? What are the numbers? How you can lower them? Yeah, I would definitely look into this. The churn rates,
Mhm.
extremely important.
Mhm.
So sometimes you spend so much money on the marketing, players come, right? They make deposit, but then you lose them.
Yeah.
That means it's a bottleneck. You do something wrong. So how you can actually increase the engagement? by
Mhm.
providing specific bonuses, having more dedicated communication, doing proper gamification, segmentation tools. You need to understand that as well. Sometimes this is actually a problem, and you don't need to burn more money on the marketing.
Mhm. Understood. Okay. I think I would take the last question of from the audience right now. What's the most underrated growth lever for iGaming operators that more people should focus on?
Growth, what, pardon?
Growth lever, lever, lever. Underrated growth
Mm,
lever.
underrated growth list. So what's the most underrated growth later that people, I don't know. I think I mentioned this already in the
Mhm.
beginning or in the middle of conversation. I think execution. Execution is the most important. Don't focus so much on, I mean, tech is super important, of course, but it's not about that. It's about real people. It's about your strategy. It's about your business vision, which markets you're going to go, how are you going to differentiate yourself from thousands of different brands across the industry. I
Right.
think this is the vital part. And a lot of people just forget about that, right? And then they're surprised, oh, we spend so much money on the tech. It's so good. It's so good. But why people are not coming? I mean,
Mhm. Right. So I think we have completed with all the questions that we have from the audience or the attendees. Before wrapping up this session today, are there any last notes that you would give to all the attendees here regarding building their own iGaming platform? Any last tips or any ideas that you would want to share?
yeah, guys, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. As I said, learn fast, fail fast, repeat the cycle, and you will succeed sooner or later. That's
Amazing.
it.
Amazing. I think that was a great session that we had together. We had a great audience. Thank you so much all for joining us today. It was wonderful. Do follow us on our social media platforms. The team has already put down all the social channels and the links. You can take a screenshot of this session, put it on your social handles, especially on LinkedIn. Don't forget to tag GammaStack Arturs. And, we would love to have you on our upcoming webinars. We have a feedback form at the end, so do fill in so that we get to know what exciting topics would you want us to come back in the next session. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day all. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Diksha,
you,
and thank
Artis.
you everyone that joined the webinar. It was very lovely. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you
one.
so much. It was great talking to you.